Okay, I've done a dry fit on this crankshaft before, and I know it fits in here, but take my time and set it down there. I'll line up these holes on the bearings. Decide where that goes. That one's there. Yeah, it's got to line up with that. What I'm going to do is make sure all these rings are at the top too before we do that. Probably getting a great view of my elbow. So the gaps in the rings are at the top. Find that hole is on the bottom. Where's that at? I could probably right about there. This is going to be the same thing, right about there. If those. Oh, that seems to. Went in easier last time. I don't know what the deal is. This bearing wasn't on there the last time. You should be able to feel it. What am I doing wrong, guys? Double check this. It's right in the center. Pretty close. I use like a little line so I know right where it's supposed to be. That's right there. So this has got to be about the same spot. There it goes. There it goes. It's in there. turn pretty freely. That's nice. So, put a little oil on each one of these sealing rings. My theory is too much is better than not enough. It smokes on initial startup and follow some plugs. I'm okay with that. That's beautiful. I mean, I could just stare at that thing all day. That's just a beautiful engine. Well, sorry about that, guys. I looked at the video and basically saw my back the whole time, but I just didn't know how to. If I had a camera guy, I'd have him over here, but as you can see, it spins nice and freely. Barely, there's no resistance, so that's nice. I guess I'm going to put the caps on. I guess I better go look at my manual, see what I do next. But I think you put the caps on, possibly the other half of the block on there to hold this, so when you flip it over and put the pistons in, it doesn't fall out. Let me check the manual on that, though. I could just sit here and turn this all day. Sometimes it's not driving the boat, it's just having fun working on it. Is that weird? So what I did was I replaced these two main bearings, and this bottom bearing is new, and there's two pins on the bottom of the block. There's two metal pins that come up, and they line up with a hole about the same size as this in both of these rings. Do I have the old one here? I could show you what it looks like. Hold on a second. Got the old one somewhere. Maybe I tossed them. Anyway, there's holes in the bottom on this one and this one, and you just have to line those up. So you basically spin them. You don't want to force this down. You spin it till you can feel a little resistance, and then you just set it down nice and soft. Like this one went in first. If you can do them both at the same time, that'd be best. It didn't have on too much of an angle though. Same thing here. Just set it down, and it's locked in. It's not. These things are not letting it move. So this thing is tight. As long as you don't flip it up, and but we need to have something holding it on in order to flip the whole thing up to put the pistons in. So I believe the next step is going to be putting the other half of the case on here. But I just wanted to let you know it's kind of a trick to put those in there. But just take your time. It didn't take me that long, less than 5 minutes, a couple minutes, and it's in there. I found one of the old bearings. So there's two here, right? This is that pin that correlates with, or the hole that correlates to the pin on the bottom of the case. So this thing, if you twist it, so it's like right there at the bottom, you'll see that's where that hole lines up. So if you have that hole right about there, this hole is lined up with the bottom. You see that they're the same. So once you have that bearing spun to about that location, it should drop in. But you have to go by feel. You just don't slam it down there. You don't want to scrape it, but you can kind of spin it with your fingers until it lines up with that pin, and then drop it in slightly, just softly. Same thing here. And make sure that your rings, the gaps in your rings, these cylinder divider rings, are all at the top as well, according to the manual. In my manual, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, the next step is actually to put in these caps. the upper and lower caps. You know what I need to do then is I need to get my new bearing out of here, wherever it's at. I have a new bearing. Let me find that before I put that in. Okay, I have the new upper main bearing right here, and as you can see, you can see that this part I believe is pressed in. See, this comes out and this part is pressed in. Do I press that out? How in the world does that come out of there? There's a hole there. There's no way it just pries out. I don't think the manual said how to replace that. You know, this one probably slides in. Of course it does. Do I need to replace it? Do I need to replace the bearing section? I mean, I'd like to if it was easy. I don't see how you press that out. You can't get in there with a press. Maybe you have to heat it up or something. Let me check my manual to see how that comes out. Okay, I've looked at my manual and it doesn't show, it shows this piece is all one piece with the seal on the top, and it shows this bearing, but it does not show this outer bearing. So I have a feeling that even though this is that exact same size, probably goes in there, I have no clue how you would press that out of there. And it's got to be the same size. I don't think it's... I could probably even reuse the old bearing, but I'm just going to put in the new bearing inside of that and slide it on there. So put a little oil on that puppy. So I'm supposed to oil that or grease it? I think I'm supposed to grease that. Go take a look at the book on that too. Okay, you're supposed to lubricate this oil ring seal with Teflon grease. You don't need too much, I wouldn't think. They also said to do this O-ring. I don't have to do this with the O-ring. So that guy goes on here. Whoa, wait a minute. My new bearing. You know, I think I'd like to put some oil on that too. Just for giggles. Upside down. Wrong way. No, it was right the first time. This would be easier to do if I wasn't taking a video, guys. but just for you, we're doing the video. There we go. Ooh, it's lined up. It might need a little taparoo just to move it just ever so slightly. Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. All right. I don't know where the bolts are for it. I'm gonna have to find the bolts, but I know these are the correct bolts for this one. Pretty sure I have to lubricate this with Teflon or the grease as well. According to the book, according to what you'd think, you wouldn't want this to seize up. The crankshaft spinning. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna put it over on this end. You know what? I'm gonna move the camera. Hold on a sec. Okay. This guy goes like this. You know what? I want some oil in there too. Oh, that's plenty. Hold on, I'm going to grease this O-ring as well. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. This thing's going to smoke like a train when we first fire it up. But who doesn't like two smoke? Two smoke smell. Go back here. Alright, so which two screws do we use? I think these shiny guys are probably on the bottom, and the two black ones are on the top. We'll get a wrench and we'll snug those down. We'll torque those later to spec. Okay, so I looked on the manual. It's a 1 inch with 18 threads, and even looked them up online, and they sure look like these. There's only 4 with lock washers, and I think these are the ones. I didn't take these out originally. Just chasing the threads on the bolts. They're a little dirty. They weren't terrible. They were just a little dirty. So chase the threads on them to clean that dirt off. It's 15/16 with 18 threads per inch. And if the crank is lined up correctly, these guys should go in here without binding. And they do. I think the ones with the paint on them should be the bottom ones. It's like overspray would have got the bottom. So we'll put these guys on. I'm not going to torque them to spec yet. I'm just going to snug them down, and it'll keep the crank from falling out when we flip it over to put the pistons in. This will keep it in place. I have 2 screws on their side, 2 screws on this side. And that crank is not going anywhere. Famous last words, right? Like a guy strapping down something from Home Depot. That's not going anywhere. All right. It's getting heavier. I think the crank weighs 26 pounds, and I think the block is like 44. So is that 70 pounds? I don't have an engine stand, but I've seen other guys build it like this. Can I still spin that? Oh yeah, I can still spin the crankshaft. So I can put the pistons or the journals far enough away so when I slide in the piston, can you see that?